Good afternoon, my dear students. Now we will see that rise of Stalin. Yesterday we have seen that Russian Revolution, in which a Bolshevik party succeeded overthrowing the tyrannical rule of the czars. Right? It consisted of two phases that we have seen. One political phase, another is social phase. Those are also called March Revolution and what that October Revolution, which were also called February Revolution and November Revolution, because the world calendar of the Russia, that was a Julian calendar, and today it is following the Gregorian calendar. So the Gregorian calendar days are 13 days ahead. So there is a difference between that one, right? So anyway, after the death of Stalin, there Lenin has come to the power in 1924. Okay, Lenin, after Stalin has come, Joseph Stalin, and he turned one important leader of the Communist Party. He ruled for the next decade, and he established his control to end all the oppositions. He wanted to see economic development of USSR. So for that, he introduced 5-year plans. First time in the world, 5-year plans. 5-year plans were introduced by Stalin in USSR. And that was the first 5-year plan started in 1928. Okay. And that consists of one program. Your Stalin introduced a program called Planned Economic Development, which consisted of two programs. One is a fast industrialization and collectivization of agriculture. Here it is there, fast industrialization and collectivization of agriculture. Right? These are the two programs. These are called twin policy. Two programs are there in in the policy called planned economic development. So during this Stalin period, Russia have achieved a great progress, so that it was developed in industries and also in agriculture. See, fast industrialization is very essential for the great development, economic development of a nation. So they given importance to fast industrialization. Many industries were set up, and collectivization of agriculture. Many of the people depending on agriculture, and those were small piece of plots. So they were not able to produce much more food to overcome the shortage of food. So here Stalin introduced what you call a program called collectivization of agriculture. That means all the small pieces of fields should be united to create a collective farm. That is a program introduced by Stalin, through which there is a good product, good cultivation of crops. So with this, with a great progress, with a great economic development, with the 5-year plans, uh, Russia started influencing many of the nations. Many of the nations in the world motivated by the Russian Revolution. So let's see that what is the impact of Russian Revolution on the world. Here, throughout the world, many of the countries inspired by the USSR, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, or Soviet Union. Okay, and here it is a experiment in Russia they made by the communist parties to end the inequalities and to build the idea of equality and national liberation. So these people, what to call, becoming the communist and what to call influenced by the communist Russia. We see that in our India too also what to call moved with the communist ideas. Famous leaders in India, M.N. Roy, Rabindranath Tagore, many Indian leaders, those are M.N. Roy, Rabindranath Tagore, and Jawaharlal Nehru. They were inspired by the ideas of development in communist Russia, though they did not like many aspects of the communism. Communism is different with the capitalism. Certain aspects are there in communism we do not like. That is oppression of political parties, totalitarian. Okay, and there is no freedom to what you call media. Some principles are there in communism which we do not like here. Though we do not like these ideals, we moved with some other ideas through which Russia had achieved a great progress. Okay, that is what you call some socialistic ideas of Russia. Understand? And many people were also horrified. They felt fear with the violence used by USSR. You know, in USSR during the Stalin period, whoever opposed Stalin, they were received punishment. There was a suppression of the opposition parties. Stalin wanted to rule the Russia with he ruled Russia with only single party. He did not allow multi-party democracy. So multi-party democracy is very important where this is not allowed in Russia. And there was no freedom to the people also. Such a dictatorial rule set by the Stalin. And this progress in Russia in which the Stalin punished many of the people and political parties whoever opposed him they were sentenced to the what imprisonment and such a thing in the progress such a thing in Russia which achieved a great progress was criticized in a novel called Animal Farm. Animal Farm is a novel written by Orwell. George Orwell. He wrote this novel Animal Farm and he highlighted the ideals of Russian Revolution in which how the people suffered in a sarcastic way. In that way, there is a development in Russia, and this is the nation it has overcome from the Great Depression. One more important event occurred during this period, that is economic depression. Economic depression started in 1929 and ended in 1939. Here, this is what to call at the end of 1929. There, a great worldwide economic crisis began, and that is called economic depression. Here, it continued till the beginning of the Second World War. Understand? There was economic decline throughout the world. Understand? What is mean by economic decline here? It is demand decline in demand and fall in prices. As the demand for commodities decreased, there was no selling of any goods in the market. So when demand declined, the goods price fallen. So that as the price fallen, then many factories were closed because of a loss. Many of the factory owners were not willing to produce the goods as their price was low in the market due to the less demand and fall of the demand. So factories were closed. Because of that demand, because of the low demand, their goods were produced very less. So to produce very limited goods, there is no need of many workers. So many workers were thrown out of the employment. So why did the demand decrease here? Understand? It is the people purchasing power reduced. Understand? See, as the demand decline, that is the fall US stock markets. In the US stock markets, there was a decline, and that led to decline in the demand. As demand declined, then the price also decreased. When price decreased, then the factories were closed. Workers working in the factories, they came on the road. They were turned to unemployed. Unemployment led to poverty. People suffered with the poverty, right? People suffering with the poverty, unemployment, they did not have the power to purchase the goods. So the people's purchasing power reduced. So further demand for goods also decreased, and this is a cycling process. See, when demand decreased, prices fallen. When prices fallen, industries were closed. Then people came, workers came on the road. Such workers turned to unemployed. Unemployed people further not able to buy any goods. So that led to further fall of demand. Further fall of demand led to further fall in the price. So that many factories were closed. It heated many of the countries in the world. So that it is called worldwide economic decline. In short, Great Depression. Understand? So here the cyclical effect caused massive unemployment throughout the world. In all the nations, there was unemployment. Huh? Just similar to the condition of present COVID-19. The COVID-19 have taken uh, the jobs of some millions of people throughout the world. Understand? So during this 2019-29 also it had happened in the same way. So many people were unemployed. Then the real incomes of the ordinary people as well as the government also decreased. Government was not able to pay wages and salaries to the workers and government employees. Many of the industries were not able to pay wages to the what industrial workers. Those were shut down. So throughout the world, there was decline. First, initially, it started a collapse in the US stock markets, but very soon it recovered. See, with this Great Depression, near about 25 percentage of people in America turned to unemployed. 25 percentage of the working people in America turned to unemployed, and 33% people in many of countries were unemployed. As factories closed down, then the trade decreased. There was no selling and purchase of the goods, and many of the cities turned the center of declines. See, when there is no job in a particular city, people move to another city, right? But what happened here? Throughout the world, there's economic decline. So all the cities, it may be the Paris, it may be the London, it may be what you call Moscow, it may be the what in New York, like this. Many cities in the world turned to the centers of decline. There were no jobs. Factories were closed. There was no employment. Understand? When there is no employment, how does the people buy their goods? And this impact also we see on agriculture. Many of the farmers who are producing crops, they too fell with poverty. They moved into the pauperization. Pauperization means it is a severe poverty. Instead, millions of the farmers stopped cultivation because there was no profit. Whatever they expensed on cultivating the crops, even that too they are not getting by selling the crop in the market. So there is a long worst hit to the farmers, so they stopped the water cultivation. This was the longest and worst economic decline faced by the modern world till then. There was a increasing poverty and desolation. Desolation means people left their houses in search of the jobs, in search of the what a new home. They migrated. There also same problem they face. So that is called desolation. Many people left their homes. They turned to homeless. So the results of economic depression are increasing poverty, desolation, and homelessness. This was throughout the world. Throughout the world, all the countries have faced except Russia, because Russia followed a separate economic policy. Its market was not integrated with the world market. Understand? In Russia, goods were supplied based on the demand. Goods were produced based on the demand. So that is fast industrialization and collectivization was with 5-year plans in Russia made free from the Great Depression. Only the Russia which was not affected with the Great Depression. The rest of the world is affected with the Great Depression. Everywhere there was discussion about how to overcome these things. How we people are discussing now during the COVID time. Many people were unemployed. There is no income to people. The goods produced in the market also not able to sell because there is no money with the people, right? Such a situation what we are facing today was more acute in those days due to the Great Depression. So economists and politicians have started discussing what are the reasons for this economic decline. Okay, they wanted to know that what are the ways to overcome this Great Depression. So many economists, like a Marxist economist, people, economists who believed Marxism, they argued that this kind of crisis has because of capitalism. They blamed that capitalism is a reason for economic decline throughout the world. In capitalism, there will be free market. You know, capitalist persons are encouraged to produce the goods, whatever they want to produce, and whatever they want to sell, that they can sell for the price which they decide. So it is a market system. Capitalism, capitalistic economic system is the reason for the collapse of the world economies as per the views of the Marxist. And they also thought that this could be, it means this Great Depression could be prevented by replacing capitalism with socialism. So in place of capitalism, socialism has to be established. In ninth class, we have studied two types of economic system: capitalist economic system, socialistic economic system. In socialistic economic system, there will be preference to public welfare, right? In capitalism, there will be preference to what you call profit maximization, right? So this is the what view of the Marx economist. People, economists who followed Karl Marx ideas are called Marxist economists. So Marxist economists argued that capitalism is the reason, and that could be removed with socialism. They demanded socialism has to be established in place of capitalism. And other hand, on other hand, some other economists like J.M. Keynes, she argued that the state have a great responsibility to keep economy going on. If economy is declining, there should be responsibility on the state. The state has to see that economy should go on. It should state has to struggle for the economic recovery. Instead, if it fails, that means the state does not look into the matter, then it can lead to the situation of depression. When the situation is going to decrease, is what you call the situation when the demand decreases, then the government should focus. State in the sense government, that is kingdom. Okay, the state is ruled by a specific administration, that what we call government. So government have a lot of responsibility to keep the sustenance of economy when economy is in trouble, right? This is the view of J.M. Keynes. Further, Keynes stated that during economic decline, when demand decreases, then the state, that means the nation, have to invest funds in generating the employment. Okay, when economic decline is there due to the fall in demand, decline in demand, then employment will come down. To generate employment, then the government should invest funds like construction of the projects, right, or laying the roads. Several programs should be carried by the government in order to create employment, so that the economy could survive. Understand? So here employment should be generated in which people will earn money. So people who earn money, they get purchasing power, right? They will have purchasing power who earns money, right? So those who are earning money, they will demand the goods in the market. When demand is there for goods in the market, then there is need of a supply of the goods. Then industries will go on supplying the goods to meet the demand of the people, right? So this is a way to get rid of the Great Depression, as per the economic economist, especially J.M. Keynes. Instead, so during this Great Depression time, to recover from the Great Depression, uh, this U.S. president, that is new, Franklin D. Roosevelt, he was the president of America. He announced a New Deal policy. It's a policy to overcome from the Great Depression, right? Similar to this, today we see, I am comparing with this economic depression with the COVID-19. Our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi also introduced Garib Kalyan Yojana, Atmanirbhar program, right? Such programs are carried by our nation to uplift the the what you call decreasing economy instead. So during that time also in America, American President Franklin Roosevelt, he announced a New Deal policy. Which policy? New Deal policy. Instead, it consisted of 3 R's. What are those 3 R's? You'll get a question examination. What are 3 R's? Instead, 3 R's are those, that is relief of victims, relief to the victims of depression, then reform of financial institutions, second R, and third is economic recovery, right? These are the 3 R's. What is the program carried by Franklin D. Roosevelt to overcome the Great Depression? It is New Deal, right? What does the New Deal consist of? It consists of 3 R's instead. So what is meant by relief to the victims of depression? Countries, nations which suffered with the Great Depression, the nations which turned to the victims of the Great Depression, they should be given relief from the depression. That means some financial support should be given, and reforms of the financial institutions. Whatever the institutions running in the economic system, they should bring certain reforms to recover the economy. That means it may be of you know, changing the laws which pertaining to the financial matter. And third is ensuring economic recovery. It is to make sure that all the nations' economy should recover from what you call a Great Depression. So to get success of this program, they undertook many public works. What do you mean by many public works? They established schools. Government invested funds in the government schools. The state invested funds in construction of the roads, in industries, and recruited the water people. And very important point it is that it was the beginning of the Second World War. So, dear students, the Second World War, beginning of the Second World War itself is what to call it is a factor, what to call it is, it's a factor to recover from the Great Depression. America recovered from the Great Depression because of the Second World War beginning. Instead, how it is, we'll see later. Now we'll see that their public works were carried by the states. Then when Second World War started, the state expenditure on army and weapons increased very much. They need weapons, they need army. So in order to increase their army strength and weapons, the government invested funds on recruiting the water people into army and producing the armaments in industries. So this increased water factory production. Many factories have gone for producing the arms. right? And those who working in the factories for producing the arms, they demanded for farm products, that is agriculture. So he also introduced much needed social security in the US. Till then, there is no the idea of a welfare state in the world. No country think of public welfare at the time. Because of the Great Depression, new idea has came into the existence that state have a great role for public welfare. It is a responsibility of the state to look into the matter of the public welfare, that is social security. So social security has become one important norm of the states. So your American President Franklin D. Roosevelt has gone for what introducing a system of universal retirement pension. The pension will be given to the what those who retired from the jobs. That is called social security and unemployment insurance. Those who are unemployed, for them also some pension is paid to meet their expenditure. That is called unemployment insurance. In recently in Andhra Pradesh uh, and during the Telangana in Telangana state elections were going on, the Telangana government and the Congress also tried to give some unemployment doles, Nirudyoga Bhriti, right? The Congress promised that some amount will be given to unemployed people. Your KCR also promised that, right? So there is unemployment doles. We call them unemployment insurance. So, universal retirement pension to the retired workers and what to call insurance to the unemployment. These two ideas gave the idea for welfare state. So, it led to establishing welfare states for handicapped people and needy children in the families without the fathers also funds are provided. So here, American president has established a new program that is welfare state. Instead, a welfare system, what to call, started working out. And coming to in Britain also, before to this American president introducing the New Deal policy in Britain also, they have taken some steps to overcome the water Great Depression, and those were basically what to call consisting of unemployment insurance. This is unemployment insurance, old age pension schemes were carried by the Britain government, and to the end of the Second World War, we see that Britain also adopted some other social security measures, that is unemployment doles for unemployed people, giving some expenditure to so for unemployed people, giving certain amount to what you call meet their expenditure, and those who are sick, workers who are sick, for they will be given what is sickness coverages, right? And workers who are working in industries in the government sector, they should also will be given health schemes. Health schemes were established there. And workers who are working in industries, they need to have care for their children. So child care also what adopted by the government. So these all are the part of the welfare state. A state must be welfare state. What is meant by welfare state? A state have to provide social security, pension to the old age people, unemployment insurance, child care should be provided, and health schemes have to be established to see the to keep health of the public instead. So all these ideas led to the idea of a welfare state instead. A welfare state will provide basic facilities for the for all the citizens to lead a dignified life. So there is a responsibility on the state to provide a dignified life to all its citizens during the Great Depression time, right? See, here during the Great Depression time, there was no money with anyone, understand? So what do we see here? A person is selling his car for a very least price. Look at this figure, figure 412.4 in New York. A person is selling roadster after losing his money in the stock market. He he was an employee in stock market. He lost his money and is selling his car. This is one what you call valuable car he is selling in the market because there is no money with him. He turned unemployed. And similarly, here also you can see that a mother in it is a photograph taken by a Polish immigrant. What you call it is taken by uh, Dorto Lange. Instead, this is what you call a photograph showing what a Polish immigrant. Her name was what to call it is there Florence Owens. She was with upset. Look at her face, very upset. The children, her children are not able to see the front side because they were fearing how to lead the life. So this is the position during the economic depression time. uh, and the best example is that today the COVID-19 position we are facing. Okay, so this COVID-19 is just a little in during the great economic depression instead. So it is much more dangerous situation during the great depression what we are facing today from the COVID-19 instead. So here anyway the second world war has helped the America to get rid of the great depression instead. So here minimum facilities should be provided to lead a dignified life to all its citizens. So here Britain also taken care to provide very important needs of the people, that basic needs. What are basic needs? Food, housing, health, child care, and old age care, education to the children. All these are the minimum facilities should be provided by the state to all its citizens. That is the responsibility of the state, right? And the state have also responsibility to provide employment for all the people who are unemployed. Okay, here it is given abled bodies. Understand what is by abled bodies? People who have capacity to do the work, who are well educated, they need to get a job. So employment opportunities should be provided by the state. It is a responsibility of the state to provide employment to all its citizens. In this way, we see that this Britain has tried to reduce the effects, those are ups and downs in the market which is based on capitalism. See, the market in which capitalism is there, there will be always fluctuating regarding the prices and the demand, right? So to overcome these ups and downs in the market which is based on capitalism, it is very essential to meet the people's need. So the government have the what a great role in order to overcome this problem. Understand? So New Deal is a program introduced by the what to call Franklin D. Roosevelt. Understand?